So I've been working with the aggregates industry to review their current post-consent monitoring requirements. We've built up a really good database of information across the UK. It's now meant that industry are able to do kind of regional monitoring, which means they can align all their survey effort, which will reduce costs for them. It means that we've got more certainty when work's going to be coming into us, so it makes it easier for us and advisors and industry to kind of coordinate all their work. And this has essentially resulted in potentially a 5.8 million savings for the aggregate industry over the 15-year lifetime of the licence. We've identified this kind of model and we're now looking to apply it to the renewables sector as well.
I was part of a team that developed and produced the Marine Information System. Essentially what the Marine Information System is a tool that displays the marine plans. It displays them in an accessible, intuitive and interactive way. Essentially it makes the marine plans digital by default. So there are numerous benefits for the Marine Information System in terms of better regulation, where one of the benefits being is it streamlines decision making. There's tools used internally across the MMO by our licensing team and also by external stakeholders and decision makers such as the Environment Agency. And what this does is it cuts down on their considerations of marine plans in terms of platforms for their decision making. As well as decision makers, it's also beneficial for applicants. It saves them time and money in the application process. It brings information, plan information to the forefront of their minds during the pre-application process.
My job is to ensure that the MMO adheres to the government's service standards of digital by default. What that means is creating services that are so straightforward that users opt to go online first to receive them. An example of some recent work we did on this was working with fishing regulations, which are often complex and hard to understand. By listening to our users, looking at user needs and user activity, we were able to create a portal information that made this often hard regulatory requirement difficult to understand, simple and easy to act upon. Not only did this save the MMO valuable time, but it made, more importantly, the end user's experience much easier to understand. We continue to work with the DEFRA group on clear and easy to understand guidance, making sure that all of our information is accessible at any time, anywhere. All of our content goes on GovUK, creating a transparent, open organisation that builds trust and confidence.
One of the main roles I've been undertaking over the last year or so is the outcome-focused compliance enforcement modelling, which has been trying to ensure the work that we do looks at controlling the industry in the way that we can control the industry in such a way that we are delivering outcomes rather than just thinking about pure enforcement. And by delivering outcomes, we hope that that will reduce the burden on the industry, because rather than having to attend court or hearings or whatever, we try to get messages across to the industry sooner, earlier, clearer, so that they are far more compliant, which means we have to interfere with them far less later on in the process.
We've got a great project that we're doing at the moment in marine licensing, where we're looking again at how we administer licenses to our lowest risk marine activities. What we've been thinking of doing is making this even more streamlined. So we've gone out and we've spoken to other DEFRA regulators to see how they do these things, how they administer low risk activities. And we've had some really good examples from the Environment Agency, permits that you can download off the website and apply. So the time it takes you as an applicant is greatly reduced, which means the fee that the Environment Agency charges is greatly reduced. We thought that this was something really worth exploring, and we've currently got some consultants working for us who are exploring the potential of using this approach for 3 particular low-risk marine activities. And we hope that the conclusion of that work will mean that we can bring these ideas into our marine licensing system.
what we found is over the last 12 to 18 months, when we've had a real push on making sure that we're working closely in partnership, is that we've really driven innovation and efficiency into the business. We developed an evidence strategy this year, and we took that evidence strategy and ran an alignment workshop with 60 academic researchers from over 20 or 30 institutes in the UK. The first question we asked people was, what are you doing that might be of use to us? And from that question alone, we drove out over 100 research projects that have already been finished that we can bring into the organisation and operationalise, where we are bringing policy owners together across government to look at the key challenges in trying to understand what's called maritime situational awareness, so what's going on out at sea, to identify what those joint challenges are, and then to look at satellite applications, so use of Earth observation, GPS, to things like observing the natural environment as well, to understand how we can try and meet those challenges in innovative ways. From a science point of view, we can drive innovation into the business and drive down the cost of regulation.
The management of fisheries in English waters can be quite complicated. You have various regulators and advisors who are involved in the process, depending on where the location of the marine protected area is. We work really closely with other partners, other regulators and advisors, and for example, where site straddles legislative jurisdictions, we agree which organisation is best placed to lead on the management of that marine protected areas. And we support each other. A recent example would be that we delivered a presentation on behalf of DEFRA to the North Sea Advisory Council to talk about proposed management measures for offshore MPAs in the North Sea, such as Haysborough, Hampden, Winterton, SAC, North Norfolk, Sandbanks, SSC. These are very large sandbanks in the North Sea. Ultimately, we need to work within the different legislation, within the framework of that complicated legislation, and work collectively to deliver coherent MPA management proposals for all of our waters.
Fast track licensing is for small-scale, low-impact activities in the marine environment which are marine licensable, but we can understand that the impacts, whether they're in one place or another. The way the project worked was that a detailed consultation was undertaken with all of our usual advisors, but this was done by the MMO, and we considered how the impacts of these activities on the marine environment, and by considering these and agreeing any possible mitigation with our advisors such as Natural England, the Environment Agency, Historic England, we were able to produce a desk note which sets out these mitigation measures. This means that we're saving our applicants time, because we can turn these applications around in a much shorter period, and we're reducing the burden on our colleagues across who we consult. So we don't need to consult Natural England on these small scale applications, we don't need to consult the Environment Agency, the MCA, Trinity House, because they've already been consulted and provided these comments in the initial consultation that we did way back.
One area where the MMO facilitates better regulation is with the external publication of its data. So the KIM team continues to work hard, publishing 120 datasets by June 2016 as part of the Open DEFRA programme. We've also been publishing data prior to that, and one of the good examples in that area is the publication of the marine licensing data. The marine licensing data is published via the Marine Information System within less than 24 hours of an assessment of an application. That means that any prospective marine applicant gets to look at the same data as our own marine case officers within 24 hours. That's the first time that that's been done across a regulatory perspective from what we understand. Overall, making that data publicly available is going to facilitate greater trust and greater transparency between us as the regulator and our stakeholders. It also means that they get access to the same data that we do internally. It improves decision making, it improves their decision making, and hopefully it will improve certainty in terms of applying for the right activities in the right areas and getting the right decisions made quickly, robustly.